What's up, guys? This video is from Barondan. Looks like he is four tabling some NL4 on Everleaf, or as I like to call it, the Leaf. Here we set mine on the button with threes. Guys, c-bets half pot. That's a very easy fold in a three-way pot. You don't have any hands on the guys yet, so definitely not going to be making any bluffy moves there with no equity. Oh, there's the HUD stats, by the way. Oh, don't fold that. You got a guy behind you. He doesn't three bet a whole lot. Jack 9 suited, cut off. It's toward the bottom of your range, but that's definitely going to be a profitable open. Or at least put it this way, if it's not a profitable open, you're probably on the worst NL4 table ever. There with the ace-8 versus this random limpy guy who's played all four hands so far. That'd be at the bottom of my raising range, but I would definitely range there. And I would bet the flop too, because he's just playing, just random hands. Like I say, he's played, it's only five hands, but he's played them all so far. So, it has to be like a total train wreck flop for you to not bet there. Obviously if he had a Broadway heavy range, that board would hit his range pretty hard, but his range isn't like that at all. His range is like everything but the very, very worst hand. So, that adds up after a while, not stabbing at flops that are profitable. This guy with the King 9 suited here, it's only folding in 3-bets 43% of the time, so I think it's fine just folding there. And here we raise King Queen versus a limper out of position. When you get called on this board, against some nitty weird tight fish that's only limping with pocket pairs and small connectors and things like that, that might be a decent card at double barrel. But against a guy like this, that's playing every ace in the deck, that's what his range is going to be. Those hands make up so many more combos than small pocket pairs. Plus, he might not fold small pocket pairs anyway. So, what is a good double barrel card against some people isn't going to be against that guy. Not that I'm double barreling a ton on ace-high boards anyway. Versus this min raise in position, you got a 53-12 guy in the blind, so I don't mind calling there. It's never a big disaster to fold, so whatever. I wouldn't lose any sleep over that. But I think you could probably call profitably there since it was a min raise and you have the fish in the blind. But getting back to that ace-8 hand, like when you have the one guy that limps there, I would probably raise the same offsuit hands that I would raise from the cutoff. Okay, and here, I'm going to stop this for a second. Upper right hand table, you've got King 7 offsuit on the button. You've got two regulars in the blinds, but they're pretty passive regulars pre-flop. One of them has a 2.8% 3-bet, one of them has a 3.5% 3-bet. So it's not like they're real active guys. King 7, you can definitely open that profitably. Like, they don't have to be super nits or super fish for you to open a hand. You know, it's got some top pair value. You know, it's not the worst hand ever. They're both going to fold a decent amount of times. You know, it's good enough. You should be opening that hand there. The only times you shouldn't be opening that hand there, you know, that's when that plays pretty good against stationary guys. The only type of players that I would cut that out of my range against are when you have like real active aggressive guys behind you, or short stacks that are aggressive and things like that. Versus these guys, that's going to be a profitable open, even though they are regulars. Here with the 8-10 suited versus this guy that limps in front of you, that's a pretty easy isolate. Like, even though the guy is like fairly tight, that's still going to be a big profit. Like, generally, it's going to be even more profitable than an open raise. Here with the ace-2, this guy folds this 3-bets 80% of the time so far, so I think that's justified. You know, I wouldn't do it every single time he opens, obviously, but you have an ace and you have a hand that you can't call with, obviously, out of position. So, you know, I think that's fine. With the 9-7 suited, you've got this like super fishy 70-30 guy in middle position. The guy behind you hardly raises at all. He's 24-5, so I think you can very profitably complete the blind there. I don't think you have enough like top pair strength to raise there out of position, but you can definitely get in there at 5-1 and expect to do okay with that kind of a hand. I like the 4x raise with the ace-jack because you have this 55-10 guy behind you, and you might as well, you know, he's going to call that just as much as he's going to call 3x, so you might as well get as much money as you can before he misses the flop. So far he's folded to 2 out of 3 c-bets. Like, I don't know why we check there. That's a very easy c-bet. Like, we don't know enough about the guy to sit there and try to bluff catch him with an ace-high. Oh, I guess he is very short stacked. I don't know. I mean, I can see some merit in that because you just want him to like jam in there with a jack-10. I didn't realize he only had, you know, 58 cents when we did that, so I can kind of see it. But at this point, like, I'm just going to try to show down the hand there. There is some value in it. I mean, it's not like he won't call you with, you know, ace-high sometimes. But overall, I'd probably just try to like check and get the showdown there. This one marshmallow guy, whatever, he's only raised, you know, this is a 4% raise over 26 hands, so obviously he doesn't raise a lot. Not that it's highly important what raise size you use, but I would think that he's probably just like never ever folding. But there's merit to making a very small raise too, since his stack is so short. So I'm probably just folding that king 10 because the fishy guy is very short stacked, like we said before. The big blind is decent. Even the other limpy guy is kind of tight, so I don't think king 10 is going to play very well there. You know, out of position four ways. I don't like the 3-bet with the ace jack against the like unknown guy that's hardly raised at all yet. I think you can just call there. He hasn't been very aggro. We don't really have any idea what he's calling with, how he plays post flop, whatever. So I think I would just go with a profitable call there, especially with this guy behind us. You know, he's got a 3.4% 3-bet, so it's not like we're that worried about getting squeezed there a bunch. And definitely like super fist pump 3-betting our ace king, since we just 3-bet him. He's not going to be on a level where, you know, he realizes that we're less likely to actually be bluffing here than we were the first time. Okay, so we get like baby 4-bet by this guy, which is kind of scary because, you know, it makes it a little more likely that he has some, you know, super nuts or whatever. But being that you have the history of just having 3-bet him the last hand, like it's still going to be a jam with ace king, even though it kind of sucks when you see that bet sizing. I don't think it's reliable enough that you can, you know, totally change course just because of that. Put the stats back up here. Yeah, pretty easy call with the 8s there. And I'm definitely bet the turn. You know, people will still be check calling there a decent amount, and your hand is very vulnerable just versus random stuff. There with a 9-10, yeah, it's definitely a very easy value bet on the turn. Like most of his flop calling range is going to call you again, even if he's got some ace high or something. It's not like that 9 is really a very scary card for him, which is great for us since it happens to actually hit our range. And even though he's got kind of reggy stats, like, you know, it's still a very easy, like, don't even think about it fold unless, you know, there's very few people that fall into this kind of like weird spaz category where they try to take lines that rep the nuts versus other regulars. But you have 16 hands on the guy, so there's no reason at all to put him in that category. More than likely he's just gonna, you know, be doing the same thing that a fish does, which is he's just got a 4 and is playing it in the most transparent way. But to him it's very sneaky and stealthy, I guess. There with the 3s, that's like a super duper easy call. You really shouldn't raise that. Like, you've got a guy that has position on you that's 62 VPIP and he's short stacked on top of that. So your hand just plays super bad because you're going to be out of position every time. The times you do hit a set, you can only win. Like right now, he has like a little over a pot size bet, and you know, almost all the time you're missing the flop. So yeah, that's just not a very good play. I mean, if he's full stack, there's some merit to it because you're not out of position versus both players. Like if you were to make a big raise, the 25-19 guy will fold a lot because usually he's raising with his good hands. I'm also not folding the queen-8 suited in the small blind there. You can definitely at least complete there properly. There with the tens, this guy has like, you know, just under a double pot size bet. You know, just bet something that he might jam over with something dumb, you know, like 24 cents, and then call a shove. You've got enough equity there, and he can fold with all, you know, ace, nine, eight, you know, whatever, all kinds of pair, plus straight draw, random, you know. You're going to be ahead of that range even though you don't have top pair. Or at least you're definitely going to have good enough equity that it's going to be profitable to bet call. Okay, so we raise the sevens and it called by this regular in the blinds. We flop a set. Unfortunately, he has an 80% fold to c-bet. You know, probably doesn't matter. You know, we're probably not going to be able to manipulate his range too much there. But I would, you know, I'm betting big, of course, on that board texture. But I wouldn't full pot. Like, I would at least make it a little bit smaller than full pot, just for the reason that he is a regular, and you've played some amount of hands with him. There, you know, there is some chance. It's not like people don't notice when you bet 2/3, 3/4, you know, with normal hands and misses, and then just full pot when you flop the nuts. You know, it's probably not that big of a deal. But we'll put it this way: like, I'm definitely like trying to be a little bit more careful with my bet sizing. Versus a guy that's 25-18 and I have a lot of hands with, than, you know, the guy that's 66-10 over there. Here with sixes, obviously a pretty easy defend. His steal isn't that high, it's like 40 something, pretty normal. So this board kind of smashes his range, which is mostly like ace-x or broadways and stuff. Yeah, and I see his notes, his lists are pretty good, weak tight post, so I guess he's going to raise, but it's still kind of bad, just because, like, if he really is weak tight post, you're going to have a ton of opportunities that you can raise him after the flop. So it's better to do it, like, obviously, if you know, if you raise every single one of his c-bets, he's probably going to notice that. So, you know, in a situation where that's like the very worst time to do it, the board smashes him, you have no equity at all versus his continuing range, your hand like hardly ever improves. So, you know, that's one of those things, like people say you shouldn't worry about balancing at micro stakes, but it doesn't have anything to do with the stakes you're playing at. Like, you know, it has to do with the players you're playing against. And this guy, clearly you're playing against him more than just this session. You've already got 226 hands against him. He has regular stats, so he, you know, he probably has a HUD. You know, he'll probably see you around more and remember things. So, you know, not every hand is in a vacuum, as they say. And like I say, that's going to be a very common situation. So you would at least prefer to have like a gut shot or bottom pair or just something, just anything, or a board that doesn't smash his range. There with the queen nine, that's a pretty easy isolate versus a 67-19 guy. He's got a 20% fold to c-bet, so basically your hand is raise, and then there's value bet when you hit a good flop. It should be super duper profitable. It looks like your software is bugging out. You're like trying to raise with your sevens. I assume you didn't mean to open limp it. Everleaf / minted is, a lot of people have problems with the connection. I have too, so looks like we're in for fun times. I'm definitely not c-betting that board against a guy that folds a 1 out of. You know, I'm only c-betting like the very best. You know, ace 8-2 or whatever against this guy that just never folds. It's trying to call. Okay, And with the king queen, you got a regular that raises for the cutoff. His fold to 3-bet is only 38%. So I kind of I don't see any stats on the Patriot guy, but it's probably just some weird fish that's going to fold like almost every time. And it looks like you're going to have to close the client. But I don't mind 3-betting there with the king queen. You know he's going to call a lot. You don't have to get super carried away after the flop, but it's the kind of hand that plays well against people that are super stubborn and are calling pre-flop with like small pairs or suited connectors and just stuff that they you can abuse them with, because you're not dominated by the range. Your hand plays very well against the range, so I think it's fine to just raise there. Okay, looks like we're back in business here. Too much money on the table. That's great. There must be some kind of bug in the software that if you disconnect and come back to your stack or something, like it doesn't understand where your money came from. I don't know. It's funny that it has as if somehow you could sneak the money on the table yourself, and that it wasn't the software that put it there in the first place. Okay, so on this table, this Break the River guy, he's 22-8 so far, which is kind of like fish nitty. I would actually raise there because he's not like a normal fish that's going to have bunches of like Broadway stuff in his hand. His hand is mostly going to be small pairs, small suited connectors, stuff like that. So you can basically just raise and get him to fold his hand almost all the time, all the flops that he misses, whatever. I don't think free rolling the button is too bad, or the big blind, but I would probably raise there against that particular player type. And then with the Queen Jack, like the min raise, you get 7-1 there. Obviously, it doesn't play great in the multi-way pot, but I think it's okay. You've got like a total retard that's full stacked on your right, so it can't be too bad. Okay, so with the 3, this guy bets. You get 9-1. They don't hate calling. You're like 19-1 to like hit a set on the turn, I guess, and I guess you would get more money after that usually. I don't know. Even if it's not quite there, who cares? The only thing about it is you've got this other guy behind you too, so it's not like you're always getting to the turn there when you call. He's probably going to raise a 4-cent bet a pretty decent amount of the time on that board. So after thinking about it, I might actually just fold to the min bet there. Definitely isolating this 89-56 guy with my King 8 suited. Please don't hit fold. Okay. Okay, and it's worth noting that this drillfish guy, he had an ace queen. Granted, it's not the greatest board for an ace queen, but he's got top pair, top kicker. There's a min bet and a call on the flop, and he just called it, which is like just super fishy, even though he's a reg. With the 4s, even though this guy only has like a 3/4 stack, he's super stupid. The only other reg on this table has like a 2.9% 3-bet. You got a 48 guy behind you. I think that's fine calling there. It has enough going for it that I'm not going to split hairs and say you can't set mine there. No, it won't be a total set mine against a retard like that too. There will be some like super blank boards where you could call maybe a bet or two with just pair of fours on approved. I'm still here, by the way. Nothing much interesting has happened in a while. I kind of miss rush poker. That'd be pretty good for making videos, I think. Obviously, there's snap calling this short stack with kings. Here with the queen 3 suited, you got these two guys behind you, 19-3 and 25-8. I'm usually raising with that because they're both passive. You never get 3-bet, and they're both tight, so they're going to fold a lot. And you don't have to win very often after the flop for that to be profitable against those two guys. And that's one thing, like on your stats here, you've got a lot of good stats on here. But you should definitely have fold to steal on there because it's way more important than some of these other ones. Like, it's more important than steal, for sure. Like, you know, it can really, like, there are a lot of guys, you know, a lot of lineups where you should just be raising every single button. But the thing of it is, like, you can't guess what someone's fold to steal is because, you know, two guys that are 21-17, like, there's a lot of different ways to get there. You know, the only guys you can guess what their fold to steal is guys that, you know, like this Surge guy that's, you know, playing 87% of his hands. You can guess that his is low. But other than that, you really don't know, especially with tighter, like regular guys. Some of them call or 3-bet a lot more than you would expect. And some of them just fold like 80-90% of the time. So I would definitely add that somewhere on your HUD because it's like one of the most important stats for your win rate. You know, it adds up a lot, like just noticing spots where you can raise with anything. You know, it makes a difference on your non-showdown. Pretty standard isolate with the king jack. Should raise with the king 5 suited. This guy, his range there is worse than random, so that's a pretty bad check. You know, he's 88-50, so he's raising anything that even looks like a hand and completing with everything else. So his range is actually like the bottom end of random, and you're in position, and with a playable hand. So that's a pretty easy raise there. And just to add a little bit to what I was saying about the fold to steal stuff, like if you're in a situation where a guy folds a ton of his big blinds to either small blind steals, button steals, whatever, like I wouldn't always recommend just raising any two cards. Like I would recommend raising everything but the hands that make it very obvious that you're raising any two cards. You know, like if you raise with the 3-5 suited and you end up at showdown, the guy doesn't see that and instantly know that you're raising any two cards. But if you raise with the 2-6 offsuit, you know, you're busted if you end up showing that down. So, like in the long run, if it's against regulars or nitty guys that you play against a lot, you know, even in situations where you could profitably steal with any two, like there's probably definitely some things that you're better off not, you know, just letting go, letting them see that you do fold a little bit of the time, so that they just don't go, they don't actually adjust. Not that they're real likely to make any big adjustments anyway, but still. And it looks like on the upper right, this guy with the alien avatar, you know, he's only played 15 hands, but he's raised half of them. So he's looking like pretty wild, and he shows his cards, and he has Queen 9, which is kind of weird, as if to say, you know, wow, look at the amazing hand I have of Queen 9. And we open fold our King 10 in the cutoff, which, I'm going to stop this for a second. Okay, normally, obviously that would be a raise, and it's kind of at the bottom of our cutoff opening range. Like, we're not usually opening a King 9 other than under really favorable conditions. And you've got this guy, he's opened a ton of hands. It says his 3-bet is 83%. You know, like I say, only 15 hands, but he's just raising a ton and a ton. He doesn't have a full stack, he's only got a half stack. So I actually kind of like your fold there, just because, you know, you can expect this guy to 3-bet you. We're not really having fun just shipping it in with a King 10 there. Your equity is not going to be that great versus what he calls with. You know, maybe it's profitable just because he 3-bets so much, who knows. And if you call, like, he only has a half a stack, so even though he's kind of spewy, like, you're going to make less money the times you hit than if he would if he had a full stack. But you're going to lose the same when you miss. So, like, this weird combination of things, like, I don't mind folding the bottom of your range there. I think that's pretty sensible, just because of how aggressive he is and the fact that he's short stack, and, you know, we have the bottom of our range. I think that's okay. And backing up here a second, like, you had this at the same time. Where'd it go? I guess it's not going to show us until I play it. We had this Jack 9, this 8245 guy, Surge, calls us and then donks into us on Queen 8-7 suited, and we were thinking about this for a while. We're looking at his donk bet, whatever, and when he full pots into us, but it's just a fold almost no matter what, because even if he bets out a lot, like, he's bet calling there so much, and you just don't have enough equity there. On that board, you know, like, there's some cases to be made for bluffing on some boards where he's just going to be sitting there without any kind of equity a lot, but usually he's going to have something on that board. And he's not exactly the kind of guy that loves folding either. Okay, Ace 9 small blind versus Drillfish, who, you know, I can't see his stat, but I'm pretty sure he's folding there a bunch. You know, like, I'm definitely raising any offsuit hand there against him that I would open from the cutoff and expecting it to be profitable, you know, ace-9 included. With the ace-6, definitely not double barreling this brick when he calls on this Broadway board. Like, you know, so far he's folded every c-bet, and it's only been a couple times, but I'm not expecting him to fold a ton of stuff. You know, there's so many hands, you know, like, I'm not even expecting him to fold stuff like ace-jack on the turn, so, you know, he's a pretty huge donk turn total brick. I'm just not expecting that to work a lot. Defending with the jack-10 is good. Calling the flop with second pair and a flush draw is good. Raising the turn. And, you know, I make a pretty sizable raise. I'd probably raise a little bigger than that. This guy's going to call with a ton of stuff, and we're ahead of his range. On the river, that's a very easy check. That's such a bad river. Not only does it make him like a ton of better two pairs, but obviously any queen is a straight. You know, it's just such a bad river for just our equity. You know, could he, in theory, call with a worse hand? It doesn't really matter, because it's like, you're still beat by the range he calls with there. Lower left, ace-9 suited. I wouldn't always have it as my default opening under the gun, but on this table, like, I mean, just look at this lineup. It's like 29-10, 18-3, 18-5, 9-9, 26-13. You know, that's a pretty profitable open. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, even though there's probably like 10 minutes left on this video. I got a lot more videos than I expected, so I'm trying to zoom through them. But, you know, I think that there's probably, you know, there were a lot of things that are going to be helpful in this. I would definitely say the biggest thing that jumped out at me watching this is just missing spots to be aggressive before the flop. Like, there are a lot of hands you probably could have played profitably that you didn't. You know, I'd say that's the biggest thing to look out for now. Okay, guys, hope you liked the video. If you'd like to have your own poker video reviewed for free, check out the upload tab on my Facebook fan page. If you're interested in personal coaching or have suggestions for future content for the site, email me at opensourcepoker@gmail.com.